Well, here we are then. We've made it all the way to Pool D, guys. It's the third video in 2 days that I've recorded anyway. I mean, this is going to be going up tomorrow when I fly to Fort Worth. So just comment away, let me know what you think of it. But we are going to be going into Pool D, the most anticipated one. Very much the pool of death at Fort Worth. Just to remind you guys, it is eUnited, OG, Envy, and Reciprocity. Now, I think originally everyone sort of looked at this group and sort of thought, yeah, Reciprocity quite easily at the bottom there. But now with the change of Dylan, I think it does make them a much better team, to be honest with you. I think any pacing issues that were there should be fixed now. Zed and Dylan are going to be flying at these teams and will have no fear. So it's going to be interesting to see how things turn out. But there's a few issues with some of these teams, to be honest with you. I think you look at eUnited and you've seen the issues that's went on in Rostermania in terms of the fact that I think there was an issue with Clayster and Pristini by the sounds of things. So, I mean, I think this is going to affect them, to be honest with you. And I just don't think that they'll go into this event being the same team as we have seen at the top level at Vegas and occasions in the Pro League, of course. So I don't think we're going to get the best eUnited that we could have expected. Envy, we know that Hook wanted to leave this team as well, so there's going to be issues there, and they haven't looked amazing either. So I think Envy could potentially be in trouble in this group and are looking at potentially finishing bottom here. OG, yes, okay, we haven't seen them play with Dashi in a while. That's probably the biggest issue for me, is the fact that, yes, okay, they're scrimming online, etc., and we'll be getting back used to it, but I think that you can probably put some stock into the fact that they haven't played competitive games with Dashi since Vegas, essentially. Online anyway, of course. So I think it's definitely a factor. How much of a factor it'll be, I don't know. I just think it's something to keep an eye out on. But it's a very, very good pool. It's a really hard one to predict, I think. And let's get into it anyway. Let's start off with Reciprocity against Envy. Now, Dylan coming in for Reciprocity is a big one. I've wrote down some of his stats here for anyone's not aware. So his personal stats from Vegas was a 1.15 playing Crash, and from the PLQ was a 1.17 playing Crash. So I think in Vegas, I think it was only Scump that was higher playing on Crash, of course. So it's a good stat to have. He's putting up decent numbers. In terms of Reciprocity's actual stats, though, with Dens in the Pro League, they were 3 and 10 on hardpoint, where I think Dylan is probably going to try and fix that. I'd imagine that him and Zed in there will fix, as I said, the pacing issues that they did have. And you know what? I think for one thing, a lot of their hardpoint games they were in the lead and they just couldn't close it out. So if they could have worked on some of those things, their hardpoint record's probably going to look a lot better than it does. Their S&D is 7 and 3, but I would say that's maybe a little bit skewed because of the fact that they went like 4, 6, 5s or something like that. They went round 11 every other game or something like that. So basically, they're clutching up a lot, which is good. But there's many occasions where they get into like very, very close games and just about winning them. But they are winning them, which is the important thing. Their controller is 1 and 6, which stinks. And I think that they really need to fix that quickly. And I'm not too sure what they need to do to fix that. I think realistically, work on your control. That's all they can really do. But Envy, 7 and 6 on hardpoint, 5 and 5 on S&D, 4 and 3 on control. Overall, I mean, it's an all right start. Of course, they didn't play the best throughout the week, the 2 weeks, I should say, in the Pro League. But I think in this game, when I look at Reciprocity, I put a lot of stock in Dylan being in there now. I think he does improve them, but the issue for me here is potentially the fact that he's going up against Hook. Now, I think if Apathy plays well in this game, then I think Envy probably win it. But I don't know. I just have a feeling about Rec that they're going to come into this group and cause some issues for some of these teams. Just because Dylan coming in, him and Zed together is going to be a big, big issue for a lot of teams. They're super fast and it's going to be hard to deal with. If they can integrate Dylan in well Reciprocity, I think they might win this one. Their S&D, irrelevant if it's just been 6-5s, is relatively good. You know, they're pushing teams either way. If they can get themselves to those final rounds, they have that clutch factor. If Apathy does step up, I think Envy will win this one because I think it's going to come down to the SMG battle. I think the ARs are relatively well matched. So I'm going to put it down the SMG battle. If Apathy and Hook don't turn up, I think Reciprocity are going to win it, and I'm going to go with a Rec 3-2, but this one really could go either way. I think it's, for me, this is the battle for 3rd, 4th, isn't it? You look at eUnited, even with their issues over the last week or so, I still think they're stronger than Rec and Envy. However, I think Reciprocity just about pipped them to this one. Let's go with OG against Reciprocity. Now, I think this will be relatively comfortable. Let's not lie. I think, Dylan and Zed going up against Scump and going up against TJ. I just think that, for me, OpTic are still one of the favourites for the tournament, irrelevant of the issues with not playing with Dashi, etc., and having to use Zuma. They would have had to change up the games and change it back. So it's not ideal. It's not the best situation that we've seen from them. But I think, realistically, I'd expect them to be comfortable against Reciprocity. They're solid across all game modes. I think the control will absolutely be theirs. The hard points should be theirs. The S&D is maybe something that they could fall on, but I'm going to say 3-0 to OG on this one. I think it should be a relatively simple game. I think, actually, it depends where it is in the group. I think if it's first game for Reciprocity and OG, it should be comfortable for OG. But I think as time goes on, Reciprocity will probably get better with Dylan starting to understand a little bit more what everyone's doing. And it could be something like a 3-1, but I'm definitely going to favour OG quite heavily in this one, as is in the Envy game with OG, of course, as well. I think, similar spot for Envy. That just across the board, OpTic are better. I mean, in the Pro League, you can take control for OpTic at 3 and 4, and maybe talk about that. The S&D is 5 and 5, but again, it was with Zuma. Their hardpoint was still good. You add Dashi into that, the hardpoint gets better. Their S&D, you add Dashi into that, their S&D gets better. You add Dashi into control, it gets better. I mean, he's probably the best player in the game. So that is a big factor. The fact that OG were putting up these numbers just without him is massive. It's not like, TJ wasn't in there. TJ's still a very good player, but I think, Zuma could have replaced TJ easier than you replaces Dashi in that lineup. Dashi is such a factor for this team. The MVP from Vegas as well, and well-deserved. So I think this is probably going to be 3-0 to OG. I think they're 3-0 Envy and Reciprocity. I just don't see where Envy win a map against OpTic. I don't see where Reciprocity win a map against OpTic. I think it's very close between the two, but I think OpTic take that one 3-0. Now, let's talk about eUnited against Reciprocity, because I think this will be a pretty good game, and I just worry about eUnited in terms of what happened throughout the week. I don't know. I think they're a team that could potentially, I don't want to say, they get flustered or anything like that, but Pristini seems to be sort of pessimistic about things quite often. We'll see him get down on Twitter and things. And he can be a pretty negative guy. And after everything that went on through the week, the rumor was that, Pristini was going to go to management and he wanted Clay out, and then things just got changed back. And it was a mad situation. Either way, that they were trying to change things up in some way, and somebody's going to be pissed off about it. Let's be honest, if the situation is, of course, true. But let's talk about the stats from the PLQ, from the Pro League. So they went hard in hardpoint and S&D, just to have a look at it. So they were 8 and 4 in hardpoint, 7 and 3 in S&D, but 2 and 5 in control. Now, I think going up against Reciprocity, Ibizi and Pristini, going up against Dylan and Zed, I think it's a really good matchup, actually, because I think Ibizi, the pace of him and his shot is absolutely phenomenal. He's sitting in a 1.21 overall in the Pro League. Again, Reciprocity stats with Dens aren't that great. Let's be honest, they were sitting at 13 of 16 teams in maps overall, with an 11 and 19. So I think you've got to take some of that into consideration. I think, you look at both teams not looking great in control. You definitely give eUnited probably the hard points. You potentially give Reciprocity an S&D or 2, probably only 1. It's close to the S&D stats. I'm going to say that I think Reciprocity maybe steal their hard point map away, potentially win the control, and then we may see eUnited win both the hard points and the last S&D, or whatever one their pick is. So this one could be like 3-1 to eUnited or 3-2 to eUnited. I think they're pretty well matched across all maps. I just think eUnited maybe have that quality, irrelevant of the issues, to take it. I think 3-2 to eUnited is a realistic result. Let's talk about eUnited against Envy. I think Envy are on a bad spot right now. I think 3-1 to eUnited is pretty fair. I could see them taking a hard point, potentially, maybe an S&D, but for me, I just think that Envy are relying far too much on Hook right now, and he's not happy in this situation. I really think Envy are going to be hurt by this during this week. We haven't necessarily seen some big performances from them yet, and I feel like another change was maybe needed. A change was needed in that Envy lineup, and they haven't made it. I think we're probably going to see a change at the next point where they can, which I think is April or something. So For me, I think Envy are going to suffer this event, and I think they'll lose 3-1 to eUnited. But eUnited against OG, which is the big one, isn't it? I think, you know, everyone's sort of looking towards that one. It's going to be a big game, and I think it's a difficult one to predict, but I just feel so good about OpTic at this event. And I just think if eUnited hadn't had their issues, right, this is my big thing with eUnited in this group, then I absolutely think they could push OG. Because as I said, we haven't seen OG have their full team. And, you know, a lot of people are sort of saying to me, well, how much difference does it make? They're still scrimming together. It still makes a difference. It still has to be something you factor into it. But then eUnited's issues are much greater by the looks of things. You know, they had an all right time of things in the Pro League. Eventually, they ended up oh God, where did they end up finishing? They ended up finishing, I've thrown myself under the bus here now. I think it was something, let's have a look. Well, of course, this is not where they finished. They still have plenty of games to go. I feel like it was second. Was it second? Why can't I find the post? Yes, okay, so it was second at 5-2. There was a big draw between Heretics, 100 Thieves, and eUnited, finishing 5-2. They lost, remind myself, let's have a look. They lost to Envy and Heretics. So I mean, it's an interest. That's just throwing a spanner in the works. I still think United beat Envy this time around, but yeah, for me, I think 3-1 to OG is probably a realistic result. I put a lot of stock in OG again. A lot of people are predicting them to win the tournament again. And I think that's fair. I think that's absolutely fair. I just think Dashi coming back in, we're probably going to see the same sort of thing. I think we'll see it much closer than we did in Vegas when it was already relatively close in some games. I just think that they're going to win one more tournament and then things are going to get a bit more interesting. I think people are still trying to catch up. People have caught up, but I don't think they're quite there yet. I think I'm going to go with OG 3-1. Winning all the respawns if they need to. It could be 3-0. Honestly, OG could look really solid in this group. As I said, if eUnited hadn't had their issues through the week, I would have felt better about them. But I don't feel great about them at this moment in time. Now, this pool, I'm going to say OG at the top, eUnited second, Reciprocity third, and Envy fourth. This could go any which direction. I still think OG finished first, but I think eUnited, Rec, and Envy could finish anywhere, to be honest with you. I think it's really difficult to predict. Anyway, that's going to close out my videos for the pools. I will be flying while this video is up, so please leave a comment if you can, and we'll get on Twitter and I'll get on the comments and try and answer any questions you may have about this one. Obviously, we're going to have, in the next couple of days, we would have had, by the time you're watching this, we would have had Spitfire out last night. Then tomorrow, we're going to have event predictions in terms of who I think is going to win, MVP predictions, that sort of thing. And then we're going to have a video about the bracket as well to keep an eye on some of the teams that really could be pushing for that final, those top 4 spots for all that prize money. And I think first place gets more than like 6th place in the Pro one. So it's an interesting one to watch, but we will keep an eye on that one. Leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe if you can as well. It will mean a lot to me. We've got loads of content coming this week. We'll have content after the event to review it as well. Just so much Call of Duty content. Guys, we'll catch you on the next video.